Check the description for the following discount codes.
It's been almost 2 years since I first got a GT Amiga Prime cockpit. Some of you may remember my original review was actually of a prototype one in silver. It was pretty much, you know, production level. Nothing much really changed from what I had then to the black one you see here now. So I haven't quite had this one for 2 years because I did have that silver one for a couple of months before they sent me over, you know, a final production unit that you see here in black. Now, since then, I've added a full motion system to it, belt tensioners, tactile transducers, various shifters have been on here, various handbrakes, pedals, direct drive wheelbases. It's been put through its paces, particularly as I'm a dirt rally fan. So any of you that have seen any of my dirt rally videos, you know, you see the rig throwing me around a reasonable amount, and it's not even pushed to its limits in those videos, the motion system that is. I had a friend around, we were doing some, I've tried to find footage of this, I just can't find it. We were doing some Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we were in a fighter jet of some sort. And the rig was just being flown. I was really scared that it was going to hit, you know, my screens or my speakers, because I hadn't sort of tuned it for it. We just went in with the default settings, and I had to sort of on the fly crank stuff back. But this GT Amiga Prime cockpit has been thrown around and abused. One of my mates weighs about 120 kilos, big Norwegian guy, and it's just handled it. There's been no issues with it whatsoever. I'll do a little close-up walk around of it whilst I'm talking. I've not had one bolt come loose. I've not had anything start to wobble or crack or creak. No fatigue signs of any sort anywhere whatsoever. And like, what else can you ask for of something that's been given that much abuse with big heavy lads in it over a period of probably 18 months realistically, because I had that silver one for a couple of months as well, and it's just been absolutely fine, no issues whatsoever. If you want to watch my original review, of course, there'll be a link to that in the description in case you're looking to buy one for the first time. But I thought it's always good to look back on things, you know, after a period of time, because longevity is always a question that can't be answered in a normal review because you haven't used anything long enough to know just how well it may or may not hold up. And particularly with this GT Amiga Prime, it is so much cheaper than, say, a SimLab P1X, which is essentially identical, aluminium profile construction. One of the only differences that there was in the very beginning with these GT Amiga Primes is the pedal tray. The pedal tray that came with the original GT Amiga Prime that I'm still using to this day wasn't as beefy as what you would get on, say, a P1X. Now, since then, GT Amiga have basically released an almost identical pedal tray, which I have one of here. It's actually better than the SimLabs one. It's got a lot of additional, I may as well do some close-ups. It's got a lot of additional holes drilled in the sides and slots to enable you to adjust things, you know, angle-wise, and put these top pieces of profile exactly where you want to be able to fit the pedals however you want to fit them. These side pieces here are 15 mil thick, and the whole thing weighs 8 kilos, which for me right now, even holding it is difficult, and I'll get onto why that is in a minute, and also why it's not on my rig. But this is now what you get as standard. There's all the adjustment in the world for putting exactly where you want it, forwards and backwards for the top pieces, sliding it up and down, tilting it at angles, additional holes everywhere. It also comes with like right angle brackets that you can use to, and like the tools to do everything as well. You can use these right angle brackets to extend these pieces out a little bit should you need to, if you're using something like Logitech pedals, which are a bit longer where the screw holes are in them. The facility's there for that as well. Now, the only real drawback with the original pedal tray, and I'll have put some footage of that up either now or before I just showed you that, was that because it was a single piece metal construction, if you bolted individual pedals to it, like some of the high-end ones come like without their own base, then you would get some flex in the middle where those pedals are bolted down. That isn't really what the pedal tray was designed for originally. When it was designed, it had more in mind things like the Fanatic V3s, you know, that come on their own pedal base that just bolt down in the four corners. And that is, of course, what I've been running on it since I had it. And there's no issues with flex whatsoever when you fit something like that. If you wanted to use the higher end pedals that come individual, most manufacturers sold you an optional base plate that you would then bolt those three pedals to, and then bolt that plate to the original prime pedal tray. And of course there was no flex from that moment onwards. Now of course you wouldn't need that optional plate, because we've got this beefio thing that you can just bolt individual pedals to, and it's just never going to move or flex or anything. So that comes as standard now with the Prime. 580 notes with free delivery without a seat, because there's about 3 or 4 different seats you can choose. That puts it £300 cheaper than a P1X, also without a seat. And the P1X doesn't come with a shifter mount plate either. That's another option you would have to buy in addition to that. So I thought this was a great video to make, because a lot of people would be saying to themselves, for £300 less, is it inferior? Does it hold up after a couple of years of abuse? You know, a lot of people don't have a motion system like I do. And so just day-to-day static rig use, you're not going to get any wear and tear. And I haven't had any, you know, even with my motion system, for our big heavy guys around. So I can say with 100% confidence, yes, the Prime does hold up well. Now it's even better with this pedal tray, because if you do want to run your individual pedals, you're going to get no flex, which is great. And the price remains the same. Now, if you want to buy this pedal tray as an upgrade for an earlier Prime, like what I've got here, it is £100 delivered. So it isn't a cheap upgrade by any means, but it's kind of hard for me to sort of comment on the price of a lot of things these days, because depending where you are in the world, the price of everything has just gone through the roof. Materials, construction, delivery, you know, taxes, everything, just the price of fuel to shift things around, inflation, everything's going up. So £100, when I looked at the price, I was like, oh, that stings a little bit for just a pedal tray. But realistically, I think to actually make a profit, and compared to the price of everything else in the world right now, it probably really isn't that much money. But that's what it is, £100 here in the UK with delivery if you need to buy one. But as I say, the original pedal tray is fine as long as you don't want to bolt individual pedals to it without the optional base plate that you can get for those type of pedals. So a lot of us will never have to change ours. And the reason I haven't fit that to mine is, first of all, I don't need it because I'm using Fanatic V3s, and they bolt in the corners and there's no flex whatsoever. So, like, you know, why do it? And secondly, and the reason why I mentioned in the title of this video, old man problems, is because I've currently got 5 herniated discs in my spine. 3 in my thoracic area in the middle and 2 at the base of my neck. And I'll throw a quick scan up of my MRI now, and you'll see the 3 that are literally pushing on my spinal cord. So as part of my recovery, I have to avoid any sort of unusual bending or twisting. And for me to fit this pedal tray to my rig, getting the old one out, I can't move my rig. It weighs probably 300 kilograms with all this stuff attached to it. You know, in a normal situation, I'd just pull the rig back so I could get in the front, you know, kneel down carefully and undo the bolts. I can't move this. It's far too heavy at about 300 kilos. So for me to get my pedal tray out right now, I have to do some sort of contortionist type maneuvers to get myself in, and I just can't do it. That's why I said even holding that in front of me for the camera there sends pain straight down the middle of my spine from where those nerves are being touched. So that's a little bit of a ball ache. It's just one of those things. Apparently, people my age, late 30s to late 40s, are prone to disc issues as they dehydrate over time. So those of you younger than me have got that to look forward to. Those of you older than me have probably already experienced some of it. But yes, I've got 5 herniated discs, 3 of which are pushing and compressing my spinal cord. So lots of pain and discomfort most of the time. I just have to be very careful about what I do and how I move. That's also why I haven't been able to use these seatbelt tensioners recently, because they squeeze me and actually apply a little bit of downward pressure on my shoulders, and that's just compressing those discs, and it's a big no-no. Even sort of racing in the rig can be uncomfortable if I have the motion too aggressive, because obviously it's going to throw me around. So just having to be very tentative about what I do. But that's got nothing to do with GT Omega Prime. I just thought I'd explain why I haven't fitted the new pedal tray and why you're not going to see any footage of me using it. And that's the reason why. But you can see from the close-up I showed you a minute ago, it's just the same as what you would find on a P1X. There's not going to be any flex or any movement. You know, it's 15mm thick side brackets and then aluminium profile all bolted together. So should you need one, £100 as an upgrade, or that's what you get as standard now with the GT Omega Prime cockpit. But I think that's probably everything we need to talk about, really. I still think for the price of $579.99 delivered, and then with your choice of seat, it's the best value full-size aluminium profile cockpit that money can buy. The P1X is equally as good, but comes in at £300 more, and then a choice of seats as well. And there's delivery on top, and there's a shifter plate on top of that as well. If you do want a P1X for whatever reason, I do have an affiliated link in the description. You're welcome to go and spend more money on essentially the same thing if you want to. But my advice would be buy the GT Omega Prime if you're looking at aluminium profile cockpits of this size and caliber, because the price is excellent. And in my experience, for the last 18 months or 2 years almost, it's held up perfectly. I've literally not even had to tighten up a bolt. Nothing, you know, and that's it being thrown around quite aggressively. I go round, before I made this video, I went round, just checked everything as best as I could. I obviously didn't get down underneath where the pedal tray is because of my back, but all the bits I could get to, I checked just so that I could say with certainty that nothing's come loose. And it hasn't. It's all been spot on. You've got a choice of wheel decks as well. I've got the original just sort of standard deck on mine fitted, but that's because I want to be able to change wheelbases over for reviews and stuff. I've also got the Fanatic DD1, DD2 specific ones. I've got the front mount one. I've got all the various options that are available and would be, you know, to you when you order this cockpit. You can choose whatever you want based on what wheelbase you have as well. But yeah, that really is it. It is a very good value, you know, high-end aluminium profile cockpit. If that's what you're after, discounted link in the description as always for anything GT Omega related, and a few other manufacturers there as well. But yeah, thank you very much for watching me waffle on in this video, and I hope you all have a great weekend. As always, take it easy.